Hey, everybody, welcome back to Rubbin' Racing Podcast with Spider and Large. On top of that, we have Quigs working from home today. We have Moonhead in some undisclosed location. And Jacob, who has been on the ones and twos with us for most of this year and all of last season, is actually transitioning to some show called Pardon My Take. I've never heard of it. So instead, we have a young kid coming in. His name is Owen. So he's going to be on the ones and twos partially starting today, and then we'll go full-time with us going forward. So just welcome Owen as part of the Rubbin' Racing family. And just so you know, Owen, we are fucking awesome. Like, we're very nice to work with, and I think it's going to be a great experience for both of us. This episode is brought to you
just
by
so you know,
Don't
Large,
fucking say anything about him.
Owen will eventually be taken by Pardon My Take.
Oh, is that what it is?
He's a Lockwood.
Yeah, you know what it is? That show is such a cannibalistic fucking show. And then once they got on Netflix, forget about it. I interviewed a guy yesterday. His name is Big Mo, and he's the ring announcer for all the Jake Paul fights. So he's like Michael Buffer without the liver spots. And he's a young, handsome kid, 6'7", and he was just talking about how everything 6'7", it's just being taken over. Netflix is taking over all sports, all podcasts, all everything. It's unbelievable, the behemoth that it has become. And I will tell you, when Netflix was first traded, when it first came out of the box, I was a guy who said this stock will never go anywhere. I was so down on that fucking company, as you know, because it was one of those things where you're just taking almost Redbox type shit. And I was dead wrong. So I'm just decided to make that confession right now for some reason. This episode is brought to you by BODYARMOR Flash I.V. The guys could have used some of it this weekend because of those fucking cool suits. This episode is brought to you by BODYARMOR Flash I.V. Flash I.V. is packed with electrolytes, delivering faster, longer-lasting hydration without any artificial dyes, flavors, or sweeteners. So whether you're training, traveling, or just feeling the heat inside of a car that's going 170 miles an hour around Darlington, BODYARMOR Flash I.V. should be the drink for you. So you can work hard and you can hydrate hard with BODYARMOR Flash IV. Make sure you go out and grab it at 7-Eleven today or wherever it's sold. I can tell you right now, it works for me. I give it to the kids when they're sick, the whole deal. So thank you, BODYARMOR, for your continued support of this podcast, and let's get to it. How's everybody doing? Spider, I'm going to start with you. How you feeling, brother?
I'm doing good. You know, last night I was watching the High Limit Racing, which I saw was available to be bet on DraftKings Sportsbook. So kind of the combination of everything I love, racing, and then now obviously been exposed to the dirt racing since our Las Vegas trip. And then now to see it on FS1 last night, I had to clear my schedule. I was pulling for that Gio Selzy car last night. So really cool event.
Excellent. Yeah, somebody had hit us on X saying how excited they are that you joined that family. I think it's cool because the more that I learn about racing, the more I learn like there's a late model family that will absolutely go to the mattresses for the, you know what I mean? The hot rod, the NHRA guys are so fucking passionate about it. So as we came into this sport and we were just concentrating on the Cup Series, the more that I'm learning, the more I'm seeing that we're just scratching the surface on stuff that we should be getting to. What's the one that we need to get to next? The next series.
I think it's got to be the Chili Bowl, right?
It's got. You know what? I also do want to go to one of those one of those drag racing things.
Yeah, NHRA would be sick.
Yeah.
I mean, Tony Stewart kind of sold me on that when he came on the show, but
Right.
I don't know. Really, anything. I'm down to just explore different disciplines of racing. So.
But the next official race for us will be Talladega. That's the one where we'll be boots on the ground for Talladega. How's everything going? Quigs, you good?
Doing good, yep.
Yeah, you look good. You feel good? Bracket is busted, right? Blown
up?
Oh,
yeah. Yeah. Favorite time of the year, but nothing's gone right.
I don't know what it is, but I'd listened to Actions Detrimental earlier in the week, and Denny had said it's the first time in forever that he hasn't done a bracket. First time in almost 30 years I didn't do a bracket either. I just didn't do a bracket this year. I don't know. It just kind of lost me. Moonhead, how you feeling, baby?
Doing good. Good.
Bubba Wallace had another kid, so we're sending out, I don't know, kudos, congratulations. He had a little baby girl, so he's paired off on kids now with his son Bex, who was born, I think, maybe almost 2 years ago now. And now he's got a little beautiful baby girl. So congratulations to Bubba and his lovely wife. Health and happiness to them. And shout out to Raja Caruth. He didn't have a great day at Darlington with Charlemagne there. Came in P23. But he's ripped a commercial with Mark Martin where the old school, new school thing. And I think that could have came off terribly. I think that thing could have been something that came off terribly, and perhaps it's not getting rave reviews, but I watched it and I enjoyed it immensely. We've never sat down with Raja until last week. I was impressed with the kid. Like I told you guys, he had like this analytical mind that I could see him not only being good behind the wheel, but also being good behind a desk at some point. So shout out to him.
Yeah, he's a star in the making, Large.
Seems that way, right?
I think like 3-4 years from now, he's going to be the guy. I hope I'm right, because I think it'd be good for NASCAR to see him become, a factor on the Cup Series and in the highest level. But I think he's very much trending that way.
Yeah, I am. I agree. And I wasn't sold at first, because the first time we interviewed him, he was getting on an airplane and it was just like shitty. So I was like, I don't ever want to do that again. So to have the opportunity to have him face to face here in the New York office was one that I appreciated very much. So thanks very much for him. We don't have a guest actually this week, so it's wall to wall, just Barstool guys. Truck Series, Corey Heim late pass to Chastain, pick up a win. Corey Heim is awesome. Hey, that's the headline. If you want to lead with that, Corey Heim is awesome. He's running such a fucking weird schedule where he's just kind of filling the blanks with different series that he's going to be running. But whenever he comes and he sits down behind the wheel of a truck, it just, I don't know, it just keeps showing how great this kid is. Am I getting too high on him? Like I thought everybody got a little too high on Zilich going into the Cup Series, where everyone's like, this guy's a guarantee. I listened to a little bit of Door Bumper, and Freddie Kraft had said how bad he feels for Riley Herbst, because whenever Corey Heim does something good, people shit on Riley Herbst, because it's like, oh, that's the hot seat. Meanwhile, Riley had a pretty good weekend this weekend.
Yeah, he did.
And I don't know, like seeing how Connor has done, the golden boy, the $1 zillion kid, Connor Zilich, who we love on this show personally, but seeing how he's not struggling, but he's doing what rookies do. They're just kind of getting into Cup racing. Is it fair that the shit that Riley's been getting directly in relation to Corey because of that unique situation that Corey has?
I think, unfortunately, it is fair, and I sit here as a massive Riley Herbst fan. Riley's probably one of my better friends in the Cup Series, so I love Riley. I'm inclined to speak nice about him, and I'm rooting for him indefinitely. But that being said, I very much think it's a fair conversation to have. Is Corey Heim, a more talented driver, a better driver? I was actually listening the Door Bumper Clear, and they were talking about this, and forget exactly who it was, but someone brought up the fact that Riley kind of got a late start to stock car racing. All things considered, a lot of these kids start wheeling like the second they're out of the fucking womb. But
Bubba's daughter just signed a deal.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So
honestly, I mean, Kyle Larson.
With
People
Ram.
want to talk about Owen Larson potentially being the second coming of Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson's own daughter's already wheeling a car. I saw a photo of her in a fire suit recently. So my point is, I think it's just a massive advantage when you start young. Corey Heim is still extremely young, and he's been the guy that every time he gets an opportunity, you have to deal with the what if narrative if he was racing full time. I think he does deserve a full time ride, and we've seen him do this where he's kind of picking and choosing his spots over this season, last season, where, he's been knocking on the door for an opportunity. And I do think he's deserving of that opportunity. Every time we race him, I like rooting for him, but it just kills me that, there's a finite number of these seats to go around. And eventually every year there's always an odd guy out. So I hope Riley remains in the Cup Series. I don't think he should be fired. I think he's been doing a good job. But at the same time, when your teammates are Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick, a guy who's won 4 of 6 races to start the season, of course, the voices and the narrative is only going to get louder the more successful your teammates become.
He is a victim of circumstance when your other two teammates are first and third
right.
in the standings. And it's not as blatant with Bowman. Sometimes Bowman seems like the redheaded stepchild in Hendrick, and he's always got that hot seat stink to him, right? That scarlet letter of being on the hot seat. But for this kid, it's just a perfect storm of not negativity, but just lack of support. So, yeah, he does have funding, which helps him tremendously.
The other thing, and I want to hear from the other guys, is like we didn't even mention Jesse Love's name. So come this time, the end of the season, I think the conversation is going to be, are Corey Heim and Jesse Love going to be promoted? And if that inevitability is true and comes to fruition, I unfortunately think it's going to be guys like maybe Daniel Suarez or Riley Herbst that are the ones scrambling for a seat. And I love both those guys dearly. So
So by saying that, is that the Spidey scoop saying Suarez out in the 7, Kyle Busch jumps into the 7, Riley Herbst is out in the 35, Corey Heim jumps into the 35? Like, is that the machinations? Because I know that's the rumor, right? Or that's what people have been thinking. Does that make a lot of sense to you?
I think it's still too early to see. I think the names, like I said, that are going to be rumored for a full-time seat next year are going to be Corey Heim and Jesse Love. And this is just me in my head. This isn't any kind of scoop I have to it other than, although I will say I did see a tweet recently.
That was an inadvertent scoop.
I
Don't
did.
fucking backtrack now, you son of a. You're doing it inadvertently now. You're doing it in your sleep. Just admit it. You're a fucking fortune teller.
I saw a tweet the other day, Large, that said something about Jesse Love or someone to Legacy Motor Club has cooled off. It was either Jesse Love or Riley Herbst. There was rumors that this person would be signing with Legacy at the end of the season. I saw, I think maybe Adam Stern or Bob Pockrass tweet that those rumors have cooled off. We're only 6 weeks in. It's too early to deal with the silly season. My only point is I remain concerned, and I think that's a fair conversation that you raised, Large.
So to sum up, Suarez to Legacy is what you're saying. Kyle to Spire, and no, I'm just fucking with you. How do you guys feel about the possibility that next year, everything that Spider had said, and the possibility next year we could have a really interesting Rookie of the Year conversation with Jesse Love and Corey Heim? How do you guys feel about these guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think they both could be good, and like that's back to the Heim point. Whether like there's any external pressures on them, there has to be internal pressures of just like anyone in sport, like a quarterback who's been struggling all year, and then there's a great quarterback draft class. They got to start thinking like, oh, I mean, I'm not doing my job, and there's these new guys coming in. They could be replace me with this guy. So, but I think those are both names that, which Zilich is whatever Zilich has been this year, but I don't put them in the same like I have faith that they're going to be a NASCAR superstar one day, but I do have faith that when they come in, they'll stick and they'll be good enough to hang around and be in the series for a while, and do have great upside to maybe be a top driver one day.
And I guess that's the point. When somebody comes in, they might not have the season that Suarez would have had, or even the season that Riley Herbst would have had. It's just the potential is what they're trying to gauge. How do you feel about these two young bucks, Moonhead?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm a Corey believer just based off of the amount of things he's won without having, consistency, I guess, when it comes to where he's driving. With Riley, I think Riley should really look at guys, in my opinion, like Cole Custer and how they took a step back from the Cup Series. Not that Cole's really run any better since he came back, but his time back down in Xfinity kind of raised his value, I feel like, a little bit as a driver, to where people saw like, oh yeah, he can drive, because Cup experience is going to translate in any of the lower levels, whether it's Corey LaJoie going and driving for Ram and making them better, or it's a guy like Riley deciding to go back down to Xfinity, maybe if he's on the hot seat. Now, I think he's got funding wherever he wants to race, so I think that's probably going to be his decision. But I think if I was Riley Herbst, I'd want to go win Xfinity races, because he was doing that before. He improved a ton in Xfinity. People used to say the same thing they're saying now about him in Xfinity, and then he started actually running worth of shit, and he moved up to Cup, and now the talks have started again. So I think he could go down to Xfinity and really revitalize his career, or do a Justin Allgaier and just become an Xfinity lifer and kind of spiral into being a veteran of the series and having a great career.
Moonhead, I tend to agree with you. If you told me I could bring my own sponsorship to a team like JRM and consistently be competitive and race for championships and wins, I think I'd be all over that. Maybe that's just because, I hold Dale Jr. on a pedestal like no one else does. But I think I agree. It's almost like kind of what we see in racing this year, whereas previously guys would have done everything to finish P1, even if it meant wrecking, other guys around them. Whereas now a second place finish is still super valuable and respected and still helps in the point argument. I almost see a little bit of that kind of in the Riley Herbst discussion where it's like, dude, you're a talented driver. Just go and rattle off wins. And maybe that builds your confidence back up. But I do almost feel bad for Riley. As much as he has a golden opportunity in front of him at 23:11, it very much seems like he is not getting the same opportunity as the other 23:11 cars, if that makes sense. And I know obviously there's a skill deficit, but at the same time,
And
I think there's an equipment
should you spend the same amount of time?
No, I mean,
Like,
I
is it better
agree.
to put some more
I
eggs
agree, Quigs.
in
It's the same
Reddick's?
thing. It's the same thing that every other team has ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Hendrick
yeah.
Motorsport, the 48 car has always been kind of the last priority, and that will always be the case to a certain extent. But I do think that's kind of necessary when discussing Riley's existence
Yeah.
at
No, it's
23:11.
something that you have to bring up, but it's also something that like the team itself kind of should be doing.
Yeah,
Like it's a weird, yeah, there's no.
It's just crazy that you have this kid that we're talking about so positively, like Corey Heim, and he didn't know until I think he said 2 weeks before that he was going to be in the 5
yeah.
for this. And then Denny had said that he was offered that ride in the 5 truck and passed on it. Right? He was like, I want to see how the season progresses for them. So he's got like this wild schedule this year that's probably just going to make him a better, more well-rounded driver. So, yeah.
The last thing I'll say on this is in a sport where we have guys like Corey Heim who are extremely talented and essentially on ice or being held out. It just really kills me that manufacturer alliances. I can't speak right now. Manufacturer alliances are so prominent in the sport. Where to me, if you told me like, "Hey, Bowman's out for a couple weeks," um, I would love to see Corey Haim wheel that 48 car, and obviously, that's never ever gonna happen. Um, but I just think like, instead of like Anthony Alfredo, who again I've said his loyalty has earned him the right to wheel that 48 car, his sim time has earned him that right. I'm just saying, trying to sit here and imagine a sport in which none of that shit really mattered, and it was strictly just the best available driver, given those opportunities.
And Corey Haim is not doing himself any favors, not going out and like banging a billionaire's daughter either.
Yeah.
So if he wanted any advice from
He's
me,
doing it the right way. He's low and slow, waiting for his opportunity, which at the same time, it sucks that we have to be patient for. But in the long term, I think this Corey Haim is doing the right move.
Ben Rhodes, the upside down face comment. So is that Family Guy? That's the Family Guy thing?
Yeah.
That was funny. I'm glad nobody went too crazy for it because a lot of people had given him shit. Ben Rose got turned by Tyler Ankrum, I think in like the second or third lap. So he had some time to himself while the race was going on. He tweeted that during the race that, I just got wiped out by the upside down face guy. This is something that I think we should be doing, right? Busting balls. Maybe Ankrum can come back and, show some old drunk guy on a podium. Remember when Rhodes was all fucked up on the podium, except in the whatever? And, like that would be kind of cool to me. I hope nothing happens to this kid where the powers that be, either at NASCAR or whoever he's driving for, comes in and says, stop that bullshit because I fucking loved it. How do you guys feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's earned the right to speak on this. I thought it was a funny tweet. We talk about guys who have kind of been lifers in the series they race in. I know Ben Rhodes is only 29 years old, but he's a guy that I see as a long-term guy in the truck series. He's been that way, and I see that into the future. So yeah, I don't know. I think he's absolutely inclined to fire this off, and I enjoyed it. So I don't see too much of it. I am surprised at how much traction I guess this tweet got, but aside from that, I think it's kind of okay and fine. I don't have an issue with it.
No, does anyone have an issue with it? Anybody clutch their pearls?
Yeah.
No, there's a different Family Guy meme that people use in the racing world that could maybe get you in trouble, but
Is this
that's
the
not
one
the one.
that Denny Hamlin used when referring to Kyle Larson a couple years
Yes,
ago?
A
Asian
stereotype.
driver.
Yeah.
Yes.
I turn left now.
I could say it out loud. My career's over. I will tell you, I had put something up on Instagram this weekend, and it was some young lady who was bragging about her dog. Her dog watches over the flock, so she's like, I just got back to the house, and this is Slug, and it's a big, beautiful dog, and he's kind of ripped apart in the face. And if you look behind me, there's a dead coyote, she says. She says coyote instead of coyote. Good boy. And then I sequenced it, stitched it to me saying, I just got back from a grocery store. This is blue cheese, and she just shit all over the rug. For some reason, it went viral for me, 450,000 likes, all that kind of 6.8 million impressions. One of the first comments is Bubba Wallace, because I'm there with a big, fat, white bulldog. And he says, it's amazing how much that pet looks like his owner. So here's two things. Blue Cheese, my French bulldog, is a fucking girl. So Bubba Wallace misgendered my fucking girl, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he insulted me, and I believe he was making fun of my fucking obesity, right? Because my dog is fat, right? You know the whole deal?
Yeah.
And he's just going to skate because he just had a fucking baby, and he's third in the standings and stuff. So I sent a copy of that to NASCAR, and I'm waiting to hear back. So just keep watching the news wires or whatever people do nowadays.
You know what I think would be good for him?
What's that?
Little sensitivity training.
Little sensitivity training. So Bubba Wallace, I'm going to look into the camera for this. Bubba Wallace, if you're watching or listening or this clip gets to you, watch your ass, fucking Bubba, because I'm coming after you with the I'm getting litigious on your ass is what I'm going to say. You know what I mean? 2311 thinks they can go after NASCAR. Fucking Barstool Sports and go after 2311. Try to get a little bit of that fucking Jordan money. Oh, by the way, the Truck Series did something really cool. They had Blaney do a voiceover for a Chuck Norris tribute. Did you see that shit?
I did not.
How fucking great. Did you see it, Moon?
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah,
Did you see
cool.
Quicksilver?
No, I didn't see this.
Oh, you should. Yeah, if you fucking Google the shit out of it, just in the middle of the race, all of a sudden they had like a break. They put up a small montage of Chuck Norris with Blaney kind of. Chuck Norris is near and dear to my heart, right?
Yeah.
Like when I was 10, that's when a lot of his action movies came off. And even before I was 10, he had the scene with Bruce Lee where they're fighting in Coliseum and Bruce Lee rips off his chest hair. And like I'm way before the jokes and the Walker.
I think
Texas
we're
Ranger.
like the era of the jokes more than
Yeah,
the...
I used to pay money every time Missing in Action would come out. Boom, I'm there. And so just to see it, I think that's what's so fucking great about this sport. I think that's something that is wonderful about this sport. So I don't know, condolences to Chuck Norris's family and all that stuff, and kudos to the Truck Series for taking a little bit of a break and shouting him out. In O'Reilly, Allgaier wins. Larson was the fastest car in the day. But Allgaier takes the checkered. I think Larson led 107 laps and swept the two opening stages, but he wound up finishing P4. So Justin Allgaier became the fifth driver to win at least 4 races at Darlington, the most for him at any track. He's also the first driver in that series for 2026 to score multiple victories. This goes back to what you guys were saying, and I believe it was Moonhead who had said it, that Riley Herbst has the opportunity to kind of do that down at that level. Justin Allgaier is the fucking man. I mean, it's one of those things where what we're afraid of in the Cup Series, with this chase, is that it's going to be decided before the chase even begins. And it seems like that's something that's going to happen perhaps in the O'Reilly Series because Justin Allgaier just continues to dominate. And the only real people that are a threat to I'll let you go. How do you feel about Allgaier this season? How do you feel about him maybe locking up a little bit earlier? Who do you think could be a possible threat to Justin?
2-horse race between Allgaier and Jesse Love, in my opinion. I'll hang up and listen, but that's how I see O'Reilly Series this year.
I like that, Spider. It's brevity. That's absolute brevity. I mean,
was that pre-recorded?
No.
Yeah, you son of a bitch.
No, I said earlier this season with all the guys getting promoted from Xfinity going to Cup, i.e. Connor Zilish, I expect this year to be Allgaier versus Jesse Love, and I stand by that. That's what I see this season. And the only thing outside of that I would deviate from is maybe Austin Hill on the plate tracks, but other than that, I think Jesse Love versus Justin Allgaier are the two Xfinity O'Reilly drivers I'm watching this season.
We got to have him on.
Yeah.
Have we had Allgaier on?
I don't think so.
I would love to have Gator on. I actually just bought one of his cards, so yeah, I would love to get him on.
I know we've spoke to him at the track on multiple occasions. I don't know if we had him on the show. I think that's one of the things that we should start doing. is give more shine to the lower series. How do you feel about the O'Reilly season this year so far, boys? And what do you think about it going forward?
I love Allgaier. Like I've always liked Allgaier, but he's so good, and I hope he wins it.
Yeah,
He's a beast, and he's been a beast for a long time, and I think he's just dominating this year.
he's so
Why the
easy
fuck
to root
isn't he
for.
in Cup? Why isn't he in Cup? Like, why is a guy who's a beast and he's awesome in Xfinity in the same way that we're talking about Corey Heim being a beast, Connor Zilic being a beast, Jesse Love being a beast? We're talking about all those guys moving up. Is there something that I'm missing? Is there something I'm missing here? I know he does run, the 48 car and does okay with it and whatnot, but why doesn't he just make that final leap other than the fact, oh, well, he's happy where he is?
I mean, it's probably some mental stuff, probably some same way why wasn't Tim Tebow the best NFL quarterback, but he dominated college. Like I think some guys just have style and mental differences that sometimes they're better to be a big fish in a small pond. And I don't know, and Allgaier he's raced in the Cup, taking people's seats and stuff, and he's done fine. He's held his own, but I don't know. I think sometimes just being down there, sometimes people find their spot. His might be Xfinity.
What do you think, Moon? Is he giving up? I don't know if the best guy in the O'Reilly series makes $2 million a year and where he could be making $10 million a year in the Cup. And I know that I'm making those numbers up. They don't make any sense, so please don't come at me. But I'm just saying he's making a less multiple on what he could make if he was in the Cup Series. Is there a reason why he just doesn't want to fucking push to get that chance, or is there just no real chance available to him?
Yeah, I mean, he back years ago, 2014, 15-ish, he kind of had the opportunity. He ran full-time in Cup for a little bit after he had moved up from Xfinity. And it wasn't for the greatest team. I'm blanking on the name. It was, I think it was whatever was left of Turner Motorsports or something. But long story short, it didn't pan out. And when that seat in Xfinity became open, he took the step down. And I don't know, the specifics of his deal. I know Brandt has stuck with him for most of his career. So I don't know if it's a them decision, if it's a him decision, if he doesn't want to move up, or if there's just not competitive seats available and it's never made sense. But either way, I think it's been a great career for him, and I think it's been a good career decision. And I think we're going to remember Justin Allgaier's name a lot longer than we would have if he'd just stuck around kind of being a middle of the pack to back of the pack Cup guy.
Is that kind of what we're seeing from Cole Custer? You think because it's not what we're seeing from Tyler Reddick. I'm looking at the 2014-15 season when he was driving for H. Scott Motorsports. Yeah, and finished 29th and 30th respectively in those two seasons. But we've seen other guys do the exact. I think Reddick is the perfect example. He's Tyler Reddick, the second or third best driver in Cup Series right now. Talent wise, I think so. Is he the best driver in Cup Series in this format right now? Yeah, when you win 4 or 6, that's what happens. So he's undoubtedly the best driver in the Cup Series right now. And I don't know if I just don't know what the skill set difference is between those two gentlemen. So I don't know. It's not like I'm saying, hey, let's see some more for Allgaier, but I'd love to see him make that leap because I just think he's infinitely talented.
He also has a great scheme.
Yeah.
Like he's got my favorite one that's consistent.
Regular. Yeah. Moonhead, what were you going to say?
Well, just the difference in the cars now. Like back in the day, I feel like the Xfinity or the O'Reilly series cars would transfer more to Sundays, and now they're so drastically different. Kind of going back to what we've seen with Herbst and Zilish. Like there's just such a learning curve, and they're so different. If you're Justin Allgaier, he's getting on up there in age. Like how long is your career going to be? Does it really make sense to go up there and probably spend 2 seasons learning the car, and then by the time you figure it out, you're probably old enough you're going to be retired or booted for somebody younger.
Yeah, that's true. And he heads into Martinsville at the top of the O'Reilly standings with a 52-point lead over second place Jesse Love. I think this is as good a time as any to mention, you guys, that we do have that new sponsor in Cuervo. I'm very excited about it. We were down with them in Daytona, and we're going to continue to be with them at races. Cuervo, from the first lap till the checkered flag, there's only one choice. Winning on race day is all about momentum, and nothing matches the energy, excitement, and adrenaline quite like Cuervo. So whether you're at home, in the infield, or taking over the tailgate, Cuervo is the winning move that elevates any race into an occasion you'll remember. So no matter who's in the victory lane, you can win every race day from the first lap to the checkered flag. Let's keep it Cuervo. Guys, let's all do a shot of Cuervo right now. I'm just kidding.
I wish I had I need to get one from
I wouldn't mind it. Yeah.
I got the
Be
body
typical.
armor. I got to get the
Oh, dude, yeah. 10:30 in the morning, get a little Body Armor IV and Cuervo in us.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds like a fucking day.
9:43 here in Chicago, Larch.
What's that?
9:43 here in Chicago. Sounds like a perfect time.
Yeah, it's heroic. All right, let's talk about Tyler Reddick. He started on the pole in front row with Bubba. He's been runner-up twice at this race. Third to win the first 4 of 6 races in a season, joining Dale Earnhardt Sr. and Awesome Bill from Dawsonville.
Great company.
Yeah, I think with this race, I did enjoy watching this race. I told you guys I didn't have a great experience with the race the week before. I did have a good time watching this race, but I much like other people, I was expecting something totally different. I was expecting the chaos that Chase Briscoe had mentioned in the Sims. Denny Hamlin was very vocal, saying, lock in, tune in. And Denny's not that type of guy that likes to fluff stuff up that isn't there. Yeah. So, and then we just didn't get it, but we did get pure racing. And I don't know what were you guys' takes on that race? I think in the Gluck poll it did somewhere in the 70s, which I was surprised. I thought it would get dinged a little bit more, so I'm very, very happy that it was up in the 70s. But what did you guys think about the Cup race this weekend?
I tend to agree with you, Large. I was a little bit disappointed, and I think I might be biased. Obviously I'm a big college hoops fan. I feel like that this weekend might have drowned out the race a little bit. But the other thing I want to mention is I judge a lot of these races based off the people I speak with around me. I went into the office yesterday, and Nick Turaney from the Yak was telling me, he's like, dude, I got so into NASCAR to start the season, but these last couple races have been boring. And I'm like, Nick, what do you mean it's been boring? And he's like, well, how's Reddick won 4 of 6? And I hate to just, copy and paste Nick's opinion, but I tend to kind of agree, especially the context going into this race. Like you said, Large, we heard Denny Hamlin speak at length about how different this race was going to look. We heard from Chase Briscoe say something similar. So I was expecting chaos and a long shot winner. So to see Reddick win his 4th race in 6 weeks, I don't want to say was disappointing, but was certainly like underwhelming compared to the drama that I was promised for this week. I'm certainly happy to see Reddick win. It's great we have a superstar in the making, a guy that was, 10-1 or higher to win the championship is now currently 8-1 on DraftKings Sportsbook and in the driver's seat as far as I'm concerned. So I don't discount that, but at the same time, I do think this race could have been more exciting.
Quiggs, you seem like you were taking umbrage with it, as you were saying, or is it something you agree with?
No, I didn't. It was fine, but I enjoyed it. I thought, like the Reddick thing, like I thought how Reddick won it. There were multiple times that day where I thought, all right, Reddick's not going to be a factor. Reddick's
He's done.
Yeah. And I don't know. The passing was good to me. There are a few guys that just like kind of made their way through the field, and I enjoyed it.
And which is the kid that Spider had mentioned who didn't enjoy the race?
Oh, Nick Turaney.
Oh, okay, Nick Turaney. Fuck Nick Turaney, first of all. That's the first thing I have to say. Secondly, I went to England, I was sitting in the stadium for an Arsenal game in the rain for a 0-0 tie, and I was like, this sucks. The whole fucking stadium the whole time was up chanting. I'm sitting down, drinking a warm cup of fucking Bovril because I was freezing my dick off. I watch a lot of baseball games that are absolute fucking stinkers. I watch a lot of UFC events that are just fucking 15 minutes of dry humping. So, I mean, it's not something that every week I get something from every sport. Maybe the NFL is different, like the most popular sport in the world, and they can always give you so much. They can always provide you with so much, even away from the ball or away from the final score. But, that's just the way that it fucking goes. And people are coming up. I had seen somebody said, first of all, Mike Joy is saying that Reddick's drive is one of the gutsiest performances in the history of the Cup Series. was a wild statement. Like I know we try to use superlatives here as well, but I don't. He turned off his cool suit. Right? He essentially turned off. I thought his gutsy performance when he was shitting himself and throwing up in his car last year might be up there. And I'm sure there's other people who have gone in there with broken fucking backs and, pet monkeys in the front seat and they've been on fire and all that stuff. So gutsy pumped the fucking brakes on that. I'm the opposite of you, Spider. I like to see this fucking Reddick run.
Yeah.
I mean, if he somehow in a track that he says he does not perform well on pulls off a fucking victory in Martinsville, I love it. And give me all the fucking conspiracy smoke.
Yeah.
Because those people are morons. Because if you think Joe Gibbs would allow some sort of conspiracy to let 2311 beat his team when he's hiring private investigators to check on whether or not an ex-employee is selling company secrets, you're out of your fucking mind. There's no way they're going to get 36 other fucking drivers to say, yeah, let's give another one to Reddick because they won the lawsuit. This stuff's starting to get out of control, and I'm here for it. I'm here for, the people who are saying it sarcastically just to do the rage bait. I'm also here for the fucking mouth breathers who think that it's also true. So that storyline in itself is enough that's keeping me coming back. And I think that the quality of the racing has been better this year as well. So
my only reservation is like the last, I look at the last 2 weeks between Las Vegas and then this race as two examples. And it's like Las Vegas, we saw last year a team that I didn't expect to win in Wood Brothers and Josh Berry ultimately winning that race out of nowhere. And then we're promised this race this weekend where Denny and Briscoe are speaking at length about how different it's going to look than previous races here in the past. And neither of those races ultimately delivered with the expectations I had for them. So my concern is that now, is it just that we're later in the, life of this next gen car and the better teams have risen to the top? The cream has, rise to the top. If that is true, my concern is that we just might not see as much parity or outside long shot winners like Josh Berry winning at Las Vegas last year. That's my only concern. Other than that, I agree with you, Large. I love to see Reddick dominate.
But we also, heads up on Darlington, you want to see some cars out of control? These cars with essentially little to no underbody, because now we're going to the short track aero package for Darlington. These cars are out of control. That's Denny Hamlin.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. Like, low downforce package with upped horsepower should create some fireworks. But if you're going to go off what happened in the sim, I think cars, drivers who all of a sudden hit the wall in the sim and just have to hit reset versus when they get on the track and if they hit the fucking wall and get their stripe and they got to get towed back to the garage, it's two different things. So maybe we didn't get the fireworks that people were predicting, but I think we got some pretty good racing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I also don't mean to discount Reddick did, like you said, Quiggs, I stepped out when you were speaking, but you were saying that, he did face his share fair of adversity in that race. And I would agree with that. He did have troubles and had to work his way up. So to your point, Large and Quiggs, it was a great drive from Reddick. And I don't mean to, discredit that.
Hauler Talk said he added a heavier battery, by the way. So I don't know what that couple of pounds is. We should fucking investigate that too already.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, they were saying on the broadcast, they were like, that battery that they're putting in significantly bigger. Which I don't know if that's, I'm guessing that's legal,
no,
but.
They had the guy on Hauler Talk. By the way, so Hauler Talk, if you guys, particularly if you're into like the rules and stuff like that, those guys do it better than anybody else. I mean, they start pulling shit out like NASCAR rule 48.10 to whatever. And so I don't know. It's a lovely resource to have. It drops every week.
Did you see real quick? I don't know. This should have probably been mentioned in headlines. The price of tungsten is up like 600% in the last year. There used to be a bunch of coworkers we had that for some reason had an affinity for tungsten, and they started a tungsten club in which they all bought these different sized tungsten cubes. Well, this kid, Austin, who works with us, bought, I want to say like a 6x6 cube of tungsten for a couple $1,000s back then. And fast forward like 4 years later, that shit is worth like $10,000. So I'm just curious if these NASCAR teams.
Tough investment, Spider.
It is.
It's a tough investment. He should have bought a future because he's been carrying around 300 pounds worth of fucking tungsten.
Spider's in the precious metal game now.
I am. Yeah, check.
I'm in that tungsten club. I have the card. Oh, you bought a little bit.
That's a NASCAR half-gram gold bar for folks watching at home. If you're listening via audio, please check out our YouTube page and subscribe. I know we have a lot of audio listeners only, but I do like to flex some stuff
It's about the
on the
size of
video
a
size.
fingernail.
And we also, for the folks at home, I also have this awesome Justin Haley race used Ride the Dente Chili's fire suit. So shout out Chili's.
I'm going to talk about that, I think, in greater detail in a sec. So before we put a wrap on the perception of this race, Moon, is there anything that infuriates you when you get something that's as racy as this, more traditional, and people? And again, they didn't go and downvote this. They didn't kill this race, because I probably would have been a little bit disappointed as somebody who's not a purist if I would have seen this race get hit in the 50s. Like, I think that's a decent score, you know, considering the more casual guys and the more traditional guys. How do you feel about it?
No, I definitely see where everybody was coming from, because there was even a brief moment early where I was kind of bummed we weren't having some just, you know, the shit show that everybody was kind of predicting. That said, it was so refreshing to me to see a Darlington race that was like an old Darlington race. For whatever reason, everybody kind of has this like perception of Darlington where they remember like the Ricky Craven finish or some of the insane finishes. But Darlington to me has kind of been one of those man versus machine versus track. Like, it's a battle against the track itself just to get around there. So you're not always going to have the closest, most chaotic race, because they're just bouncing them off the wall and trying to not wreck and stay under control and keep the tires on it. So that aspect of it I loved. I will say, though, to what Spider brought up, the story is kind of something I've been scared of with this schedule, because we start off so hot with the Daytona 500, then we go to Atlanta, and then we go to Coda, and then we go to Phoenix, and like neither of them are known for really putting on banger races like the Atlanta or Daytona. So I like starting off hot like that, but I think, you know, I think the stretch we're about to go on with the short track package and cup coming from Darlington, going to Martinsville this weekend, as well as what the lower series will be, you know, following and putting on a show as well. I think we're getting into a good stretch where maybe a lot more of the casuals will be tuned in, because there'll be more chaos at some of these tracks as we've seen in years past. But I definitely can see where people probably would have tuned into Darlington expecting a whole lot more and maybe left a little bit disappointed.
Can I say that some of the blame, and I hate to do this, I wasn't nutty about the broadcast this week. Like, that was one of the things where I was trying to find stuff outside of watching Brad K. By the way, if Tyler Reddick didn't have that alternator problem, does he lap everybody? Does he win by like SVG type numbers? Right? Because whatever you want to say, and I know the conspiracy theorists, I just shot it down, he was in a fucking rocket. Tyler Reddick was, and that car is fast. So, I mean, that would have been one of those ones that would have been something where I'd been like, that's kind of boring. We want to run out. And if Fox doesn't spend enough time watching Hocevar battle for sixth, then that's going to keep the casuals away, because that's where I thought the meat and potatoes of this race was, with the benefit of having a guy who already won so many races, from Michael Jordan battling through the field after turning off his cool suit in a heroic fucking effort. But so I don't know. So, and I thought the Fox, I don't know. I listened to the race on the radio a couple of weeks ago, and I had a very good experience with listening to it on the radio. I'm very close to maybe sometimes having the radio on while I'm watching it on TV, if that makes any sense. So whatever. What else we want to talk about? Joey Logano should have called in sick. It looks like everybody has like an off race. Joey Logano definitely had one. I wanted to bring this up to you guys. There's so much talk about whether the big three in NASCAR, Henrik, Gibbs, and Penske, are soon to become the big four, and who's that fourth going to be? Are we going to go in that direction that Spider is talking about with the parity, to where maybe the big three becomes the big four, the big five, perhaps the big six? Or do you see it coming to a point where maybe we go back to the big two, because Penske has been underperforming outside of Blaney? Will it be Penske is pretty good and Blaney is a superstar, then you have the big two? Or do you guys see this spreading out? And if it is spreading out, who do you see in order picking up that big four mantle and then big five mantle?
I'll go ahead and start. I'm going to give two teams that I'm looking for to become and join the top tier, and then teams I'm concerned about. And I'll start with those that I'm concerned about. And one might come as a surprise, but it's Team Penske. And that's only because, in my opinion, the Fords are at a massive disadvantage in the Cup Series. Outside of Penske and Wood Brothers, they are pretty much on their own. They don't have any really help, resources. We're talking about a guy like Corey Heim at length. In my opinion, in a perfect world, Corey Heim would have left Toyota by now and been driving a Ford, maybe for Penske or even the Wood Brothers 21. But the reality of the situation is there is a finite number of Fords in this NASCAR Cup Series field. So just strictly from a numbers position, I'm a little bit concerned about the Fords. And you look at like the other team I would be concerned about is Joe Gibbs Racing. And that's only because of the rise and dominance of the Toyota team that is 2311. You look at the current standings. Tyler Reddick, obviously 4 of 6 races this year he's won, obviously far and away P1. But then in third, you have Bubba Wallace, his teammate, who has 0 wins to show for it. And that's not discrediting him. I'm saying he hasn't won, and
nobody's had any chance to win.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Tyler's fucking winning every week.
He hasn't won a race, and he's still P3. So to me, 2311 is class of the field right now. I love what they're doing. And then outside of that, I think there's incredible teams that need to be given their flowers again. RFK has all 3 of their cars in the top 12 in current point standings. And I think that's nothing to sneeze at either. You've got a guy in Brad Keselowski with a massive winless streak. And you've got Ryan Preece, who's never won a Cup race. And yet 2 of those 3 drivers are in the top. I'm sorry, all 3 of their drivers are in the top 12 in points. So RFK and 2311 are the teams that I'm looking to kind of build and reach the apex. I love what they're building. Outside of that, the honorable mention I have, the third team would be Spire Motorsports. But my concern with Spire is I think a lot of their speed is exclusively in that 77 Carson Hocevar Chili's car. So I'm not as sold on the whole Spire team as I am on the 77 team.
They had 2 drivers in the top 10 this week. Hendrick had 1.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. They're building. The other thing I would say, Large, as much as you ask this question from the lens of like parity, as much as you're right, there is more parity with the rise of RFK and Spire. Is it just all kind of hierarchy? You look at Hendrick, and Hendrick's sharing stuff with Spire. So could that be the point to the rise of Spire? Obviously Spire's building cool stuff on their own, but a lot of their success could be pointed to as an alliance from other teams. Again, back to my point about why I'm concerned about Ford. They simply don't have as many numbers to kind of experiment or test things with. But I want to hear from the rest of the field. I just spoke at length for 5 minutes. What do you guys think?
I mean, I think 2311 is
Already there.
A rocket ship and like already there.
But they don't have that consistency. Like even Denny said, you need to do it over a long period of time with multiple drivers.
Yeah, but
a team that's only been in existence for 6 years.
Something feels like this is like the start of their consistency, and
cool.
That's
what I need. I need a crystal ball, so I love it.
They're very good. They have like room to improve and be better. And then I guess if we're doing up arrows and down arrows, I'd probably put big up arrow on 2311.
For sure.
Maybe a down arrow on Penske. Gibbs and Hendrick just kind of feel like they are what they are. They're going to be really good. They got larger teams, and they're kind of just like the straight line, and then big up arrow on 2311. And then I like Trackhouse a lot, and I think they're an up arrow. They feel a little bit more to me like what you were saying to worry about with 2311 with the consistency. They feel like something that, even though I like what they're doing and they're building, it could all fall apart one day. It's like Zillage could get a massive offer from somewhere, go to one of these big teams. SVG could be like, yeah, I'm not cut out for this. I'm going back to Australia. And then like, where are they at that point? But yeah, no, I think I'd buy all the stock in 2311 right now.
Yeah, I tend to agree. And, I'm not rooting for SVG, but like some of the chinks in the armor are already starting to show at Trackhouse. So
quick, you'd buy more. You'd buy 23, or you'd buy Trackhouse stock over 2311.
No,
he's
no,
at
no.
2311.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
all right. I just
Yeah.
want to make sure I was understanding that correctly.
But
Moonhead, is there
I'd
a
maybe
chance
buy
that,
stock in
is there a
20
think-
Trackhouse.
do you guys see, and I'll ask Moon in particular just to get his thing on this, do you see a road where Penske does this and the big three remains the big three, but 2311 takes Penske's spot, and you know what I mean, like one of those things?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Penske is concerning because of how Logano, Cindric, Barry are running, but Blaney's still P2 at points, so like I'm not gonna hit the complete panic button yet. 2311 is a no-brainer because even with Reddick's dominance, if Bubba and the 23 team could figure out how to make a third stage happen, they're going to be winning races. Really, I mean, I think Bubba has really had stage points kind of carry him to where, not carry him, he's had a great year, but if you take stage points out of the equation, Bubba's not sitting third in points. So I think if they polish their third stage, 2311 is really going to be making that case for themselves. Now, I also agree with Quiggs on Trackhouse, but to me, it's a little surprising that SVG is the guy that's kind of leading Trackhouse this year. It seems like, at least from a where he's sitting in the standings perspective. And I feel like it's kind of reflected. He hasn't had the greatest runs every week, but he's slowly figuring out the oval thing. And I think that alone could make Trackhouse dangerous, not to mention having Ross, who has proven he's a badass, has proven he can win at this level. And then Zilish, who is going through what I think anybody would expect a rookie to go through, but he's not running like complete dog shit. He's just not lighting the world on fire like he's done in everything else he's driven. So I think I agree with Quiggs in that sense. If I had to give a down arrow, it would be between Penske and Hendrick, but I think I'd probably be more inclined to give it to Hendrick. They have just not, to me, had the same flash that they've had. But once again, overall, they're sitting better in the points than Penske is. So I don't know. It's tough to say. I think if I had to really make an opinion on it, I would say instead of moving 2311 into the big three or whatever it is, we should start just adding them to the conversation with these other teams. And I do agree with what Denny said, though. They've got to do this over a few seasons to prove that they can do it. And I think they will. But
last thing I got is that I don't mean to be critical of Penske, a team that's far and away been the top 4 team for, a while. And I think they will continue to be the top 4 team. My only concern just lies in 2 things, is like what Moonhead said, is the fact that, some of their drivers have not been looking good. And we've talked about this in seasons past, that Ford has started slow, or, that they come out of nowhere late in the season to ultimately win a championship. So all of those things are true. Just from a sheer, I just look at all these other teams. You have Toyota, right? And they have Corey Heim waiting in the wings. They have a bunch of O'Reilly, they have drivers backfilled. They have the Corey Heims of the world waiting. Literally, his job right now is to just be patient and wait for the opportunity. You have in the Chevy camp, you got Connor Zilish, Jesse Love ready to kind of be the next face of the program. You look at the O'Reilly series, and there's like 3 Fords in the entire field. So my point is, I think Ford should have made a play to kind of steal Corey Heim. And for that reason, and there's no one to really backfill, I would be a little bit concerned about Penske moving forward. But yeah, that's kind of my context.
I don't know with Penske if Austin Cindric would be able to carry the team outside of the every now and again win, which is great. It's a great career for him. I'm not doing anything to the kid, but as far as putting the team on his back, but it was nice when Blaney and Logano were both legitimate threats,
right?
And I'm not putting dirt over Logano because I'm a Logano fan, but and I also have to say, if Blaney can figure out if his pit fucking crew could figure out how to do a better job, he's only going to get better, right? Because it seems to be one of the only thing that's holding him back from having a Tyler Reddick-esque type season. So I haven't totally closed the door on Penske. It's just I haven't liked what I've seen so far.
Let me get an arrow down on Legacy as well.
Come on.
Of course, yeah.
I know I said last
just
thing.
From day one, it's just been a down arrow.
My thing is, if we're talking about teams' trends, You guys mentioned Trackhouse trending upwards. I would personally put them at a hold rating, not a buy, not a sell, but a hold. And only because back to the parity concerns I have, when this next gen car was first introduced, Ross Chastain was lighting the world on fire, stealing wins, turning heads, etc. So I feel like that's kind of cooled off. Now, don't get me wrong. I agree with what you guys said. Trackhouse is still a very capable team on ovals with the increased skill of SVG and what we've seen him build. And then you guys got Ross and Connor, who are very capable drivers as well. But from where they were at to start the next gen to where they are now, I would give them a hold rating. And I disagree with you guys that are a little bit more bullish on Trackhouse.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're kind of agreeing, but it's almost just like they're just like a volatile,
Yeah,
like stock where it's like
you're
they
right.
could explode,
They
like they
are a
could be
feast or
really
famine
good, but
organization for
like
sure.
they could also just be a lower level team.
If we had one of the things before we move on from the Cup Series, if we had Tyler Reddick on the show today, we didn't ask for him or anything like that. How much you think his asshole tightened up a little bit when he got into Buescher, right? Just for and it was Buescher's fault. The pit lane is so weird at that track. It just everyone trying to mask whether or not they're going off, all that stuff. So it wasn't Tyler's fault, but I just remember the terror in his fucking eyes when Buescher had come up to him before.
Buescher's probably one of the last guys on pit road I'd want to piss off. He's an intimidating country.
And they were all good. Like Buescher, RFK said nothing negative about about Tyler, or about you either, Spider.
Yeah.
So I just when I saw that, I was like, ooh, are we gonna get another one of those things? Because I find that shit delicious, as you guys know.
Yeah.
What else? All right, let's what's going on this week? Trucks are off until Rockingham next Friday. O'Reilly is going to be Saturday with the NFPA 250, which you guys can catch at 3:30 p.m. on the CW, and then the Cup has Cookout 400 on Sunday also at 3:30, but on FS1. It's going to be Brad's 600th start. He's the 35th driver to do it. Joey did it last year, so congratulations prior to the race to our guy Brad K. Brad's 36 career victories. Put him to rank 25th on NASCAR's all-time victories. With that, let's talk about what our pick. Did anyone hit anything last week on the picks?
I hit a pick six. Yeah. I picked 3 picks, and the multipliers are different. So the more picks you make on pick six by DraftKings, the higher your multiplier will be. So if you pick 2 picks, the multiplier is usually 2.7x, meaning if you put down $100, you will win $270. But for a 3 pick, in the instance that I did, it was a 5x multiplier. $100 wager ultimately won me $500. And the best part about pick six is the more picks you make and the more obscure the picks that they are. For example, if I take Ty Gibbs to finish top 10 and no one else has that, there's a good chance that my bet slip will turn purple and I will get an extra prize and I can win even more than the 5x original guaranteed multiplier. And the way you do that and ultimately get extra prizes is by making more picks. So I didn't get the purple in my 3 pick six, but I did have both Ty Gibbs and Chris Buescher to finish within the top 10 and Tyler Reddick to finish better than 3.5 finishing position. He ultimately won. So $500 richer thanks to the great folks at Pick Six. So no matter where you are, if DraftKings is not legal in your state, check out Pick Six. There's a good chance it is legal, and you can simply pick better or worse finishing position for these races or a myriad of other sports, whatever, including esports. So there's literally something for everyone. I'll have another pick six this weekend. Also, while we're talking about picks, I mentioned it earlier, but I love to see that High Limits Racing was a market offered on DraftKings last night. The race was on FS1. I love to see these smaller series get the shine. So not only were they featured on TV, but they were also featured on DraftKings. So I took Gio Scelzi to win last night. Unfortunately, he didn't win, but I digress. And it was still great that DraftKings has both Pick Six and High Limit Racing.
Before we go on to our picks, by the way, I hit host of our best Chevy.
There you go. He drove his ass off, and we didn't mention that. So real
plus 1,600. So I'm going to back up, and I'm going to mention two things before we go on to picks, because first, what just came across my desk is the headline from Paul Pabst. I think Moonhead had sent it to me. Darius Rucker on the show now told us he's getting into NASCAR team ownership. That's a good sign. I mean, it's not Michael Jordan, but fucking have Hootie on board, right?
Are you real quick, Large?
With a little love, is that and some fucking money bringing into the thing. But yeah, I was a big Hootie guy. Could use a new album probably.
Are you more of a Hootie or a Darius Rucker fan? I know I'm
more of a Hootie guy.
I would probably agree.
Yeah, I've fallen off, with him with some of his solo work.
I only want to be with you.
Yeah, that was a banger back in the day. Couldn't fucking tell you any of the words because it's all put on a little dearland, all that shit. But welcome to the family, Darius Rucker.
Yeah, that would be great.
Checkbook, that would be great.
Hope to see him at the track all the time. I love Darius Rucker.
That'd be cool. He performed last year at one of the races. I can't remember which one, but he came in and he killed it.
Why you wanna cry?
Yeah.
Darius, open invite if you're listening. You want to come on the show? We'd love to talk about your.
Should get him on the show.
Yeah, honestly.
An open apology to the people who are listening in their car and hit the spider when he's like, "Time."
R.I.P. headphone users.
Fucking awful. And also, one of the things I wanted to point out is the chili suits that are behind Spider. That whole thing. It's corny as fuck, and I don't think that a lot of people could pull it off. Like when we had Justin Haley wheeling the 7 for Chili's, he was kind of uncomfortable wearing the weird suit and stuff like that. When Hocevar gets out, and Hocevar had a good race. When he got out and had the cowboy hat on, it was P4 was his second top 5 of the season, and the shades. I know that pisses off the purists with the whole Intimidator thing, and I agree with you 100%. But I don't know how many other drivers would agree to do that, right? Because everybody else takes off their helmets, fixes their hair, puts on their fucking baseball hat, and then that's it. He's got to get out, put on the shades and the thing. It's a costume party, and it seems like the kid pulls it off. Would you give him that credit? That he seems like he's DTF for his sponsors, and I admire that about that kid greatly.
Absolutely. I said it last week. Carson Hocevar's willingness to do literally whatever I asked of him or Chili's asked of him is P1. So yeah, I don't take that for granted. Carson is awesome. To answer your question, Large, who else could I see doing this in the field?
There's one person.
I have 2 guys off the top of my mind, and outside of that, I'd have to sit down and think for an extended period of time about who else.
Okay.
The 2 guys are Noah Gragson, for the simple fact I've seen him rock a cowboy hat on pit road before. And outside of him, the only other guy I can think of is our guy Tyler Reddick. And that's for the fact is another restaurant who I will not name because shout out Chili's, literally dressed him up like one of their mascots.
That's right. He was the Hamburglar.
That's right. You said it, not me. And I think that was great execution. So my point is he's already kind of proven that he can kind of be a cartoon character or whatever you want to call it.
I can tell you, Spider, and I'm going to ask Quiggs and I'm going to ask Moon the same question. If you think that Gragson and Reddick are, it's so much easier. I can easily name 30 people who wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah.
Chase Elliott, number 1 with the bullet. Imagine somebody said, Chase, by the way, wear something that's kind of Dale inspired. But no. Yeah. Wear a fucking cowboy. No. The shades and then the fucking goofy Woody from Toy Story suit. And I think that would be the majority of the garage. Even guys who would want the sponsorship dollars probably wouldn't. Well, I guess for the sponsorship dollars, you do a hell of a lot more. But is there anybody that you think could pull this off as good as Carson Hocevar did? Quiggs, do you think?
Keselowski can be kind of just goofy with all this stuff.
Yeah, he does get a little goofy. As he gets older, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be my answer.
It's it, yeah.
But I don't
Moon,
even
are you too bitter about the whole Dale thing to even answer the question? I know that's something that sticks in your craw, and it sticks in the craw of a lot of people that this punk-ass kid shouldn't get to do this type of thing. But how do you feel about it all the way around?
No, I mean, it's definitely a successful sponsor activation or whatever you want to call it. It's recognizable. I mean, I think there's probably way better fits out there, if I'm being honest, to put somebody in a cowboy hat. But yeah, I mean, it's working. It's getting a lot of attention.
I would
fucking hate it.
Yeah, I do. I'm not gonna act like I love it,
No,
but
I know.
it's working. So I mean, they're getting their
I
money's
bring it
worth.
up just because I know you hate it. To be quite honest with you.
Look,
Wait, did I answer Keselowski should be in a Dale scheme?
No, you said that Keselowski would be the one who'd be like down to fuck with putting on the funny
Okay, that's what I thought I
and the
answered.
cowboy hat.
I wanted to make
don't
sure I
think-
wasn't nominating
yeah.
him to run like
Yeah,
do a
I
Dale
think that would
throwback
probably
scheme.
that would have a real problem with Brad K. But I mean more of the goofiness.
Yeah.
Because it is fucking goofy. Say what you want. It picks up well on TV, and people look. My wife was like, "Holy shit, what the fuck?"
Call it goofy, call it whatever. But I think Moonhead's spot on. I think it's successful, and I think you can put this conversation to bed with one singular tweet. And I look at a tweet from Dale Earnhardt Jr. that he posted on Monday, the 23rd of March. Where he says, I may be, he quote tweeted Carson Hocevar's, the chili scheme on the track. And he said, I may be biased, but this was a solid execution on a throwback from the content to the wrapped Grand Prix to the performance. Great work by all. And I think, we can put this conversation to bed right there with that tweet. I said before, I think a lot of times we can let these drivers or the guys that actually wield the cars be the judge of, who should be able to drive, what they should be able to drive, etc. So if Dale Jr. is cool with it, I think, I rest my case. I completely stand by everything I said. I think, Dale said it himself. He agrees it's a great home run. And the other thing is, he didn't have to tweet this. I mean, he's a guy who's got another fast food chain who wears another funny hat on pit road, who I'm not going to mention, all over his show as sponsorship. And he's still giving Chili's the flowers. So I think if there's any doubt in your mind whether this was cool, acceptable, successful, it's a no-brainer from that regard. And I also think it's so easy. All these teams this year, Darlington, we saw limited throwbacks. I'm going to go the other way and give immense flowers on this home run activation with the 77 Chili's car we saw this week.
And I think too, a lot of it has to do with Hocevar's personality.
Yeah,
I think the what I say is goofiness, which may come off as being more insulting, but half my life has been living within the goofiness realm. I think he pulled it off. Let's pick some winners. Picking the Tires brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of NASCAR, is delivering the most generous rewards in the market, no matter what happens on the track. Because this isn't a race you bet and forget. It's one you react to. Lap by lap, caution by caution, live odds, stage winners, fastest lap, next driver to lead as the pack tightens, as strategies shift, as the engines roar. One restart can change everything. One pit stop can flip the field. So don't just watch the unexpected, bet it. New to DraftKings? Bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. All you have to do is download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the code Rubbin. That's code Rubbin for new customers to turn $5 into $200 in bonus bets instantly. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. I do have my card filled out if you guys want me to go first.
Please.
So I'm – Quiggs, you had something chomping at the bit to go first?
Nope,
No,
you can
you're
go.
cool with it? I'm sort of – I'm a big Chase Briscoe fan. I just need him to sort of get out of this. So I'm jumping on Briscoe again this week. I got him plus money, plus 185 for a top 5 finish, which I don't think is too much to ask. I also have him as Group B winner. So Group B is Christopher Bell, Chase Elliott, Joey Logano, and Chase Briscoe. I'm worried about Bell in that Group B. So the only kind of hedge to that bet is I'm taking Christopher Bell as top Toyota at plus 300. I'm all over the fucking map here. So Chase Briscoe is going to be a top 5 for plus 185. Chase Briscoe, a Group B winner at plus 340. Christopher Bell, plus 300 as top Toyota. And then I did 2 chalky bets, Kyle Larson and Ryan Blaney, both to win. So I'm betting like 200 between them to win 525 or something like that. They're both around plus 500. It's very chalky, but I have Kyle Larson, Ryan Blaney to win, and that's it for me. Anybody else?
I'll go.
Go ahead.
Terrible pick, but I feel like it's almost dumb not to bet him. I'm taking Reddick plus 1400. I had Christopher Bell on my card plus 800. He's had a little bit more success here, but like something just feels like Reddick's more likely to win this than Bell, and like maybe anyone. Just the way things are going. And then Other than that, I have a pick I don't do often, but I have a top Ford pick. Ryan Priest plus 850. He's got some good success here lately. Kind of need him to just beat out Blaney and Logano. And I think Blaney will be tough, but I could see Joey just not being there.
Blaney is awesome, right? I mean, at
Yeah.
this track, Reddick is not, and that doesn't mean anything. Like, but I was going to jump on the top four and might stay away from it. But yeah, I didn't even look at Ryan.
Yeah. But no, I mean, Reddick's been good on the best on a lot of tracks this year that he's not
Yeah,
been great
that's
at it
true
in the
too.
past. So
Yeah.
I try to throw that out and just be like, God, he's winning everything. Might as well take him. So
Right.
those are my 2 picks that I got.
I like it. Spider, you ready?
I am ready. Yep, I got a parlay I'm going to start with, and that is Joey Logano and Kyle Larson, both to finish within the top 10. It pays plus 109. Both these guys are pretty big favorites to finish within the top 10, and for good reason. If you look on driveraverages.com, in their last 6 races at Martinsville, dating back to February of 2023, Kyle Larson and Joey Logano have finished within the top 10 in every single race. So I like parlaying them plus 109 to both finish within the top 10. I think they might even finish within the top 5, both of them. There's a good chance Larson wins this race. And Joey Logano, he's been unpredictable this year, but he is historically good at Martinsville. Outside of that, I like Chase Elliott for a top 5 finish. It's plus 120. Chase Elliott in his last 6 races here has finished within the top 5 4 out of those 6 times. And he has an average finish here of 6.5 finishing position. Chase Elliott, I love, and I know I've been critical of him in weeks past on this show. My criticism has lied in his ability to win the race, not to finish strongly. So I expect Chase Elliott to continue to be competitive. Not saying he's going to win the race, but I like him for a top 5 at plus 120 on DraftKings. Outside of that, in terms of outright winners, there's 2 guys I like, and neither of them are the favorites. I was toying with the idea of taking Blaney at 5-1, and I think that's very fair considering he's won 2 of the last 6 races here and finished in the top 10 5 of 6 times. But I'm not taking the chalk. I'm going a little bit higher odds in Kyle Larson plus 550. He has an average finish here of 3.7 in 6 races. He has won 1 but finished in the top 5 of those 6 times. I like Kyle Larson to potentially win this week, get his first of the year this week at Martinsville. If it's not Kyle Larson, who is the other guy I have? William Byron at 7-1, I think is extremely fair. He's won 2 of 6 races here, and he's led a 6th of the laps turned at Martinsville Speedway since 2023.
We're both riding Larson, Spider. Look at us.
Larson and Byron outright. I got Chase Elliott on the top 5, and then I have a top 10 parlayed with Logano and Kyle Larson that pays
Logano
109.
bounce back a little bit.
And also, as I mentioned previously, I will have a big pick six.
Yeah. What do you got, Moon?
Looking at the groups, I like Keselowski in Group D. To me, I think this weekend, in terms of an outright winner, I think it's got Denny written all over it.
Nobody took him.
Yeah, I have a hard time betting against him. I think I'm gonna also sprinkle some on Christopher Bell and then Ty Gibbs top 5. So I guess I'm very Toyota heavy right here, but they've proven this year that they know how to get it done. That said, we were kind of down on Penske earlier, and it would not surprise me one bit if Blaney won the thing this weekend either. So
yeah, after we were just super critical of Penske, I mean,
I think we were all saying Penske is Penske plus Ryan Blaney almost,
right?
At least this season. And if Ryan Blaney does cure what ails him in the pits, he's got a Tyler Reddick-esque season. So I have him on my card. That's my 2 chalky picks. All right, so that's it for us with Rubbin is Racing. We'll be back to you guys next week. I don't know what we do the week after that because Cup Series goes on Easter break, so we'll figure that out during this week. But as always, we appreciate you guys listening, and we'll see you when we see you.